What's going on, everyone? Championship Fit here, back at it again with another episode of Operation 66. This is episode number 2. If you didn't check out the last episode, I'll attach it at the bottom. Check out the link, and yeah, check that out. On this episode, we're gonna focus on that week before my first test or my second test, all the way until the week before time trial. The next episode will be the time trial, so stay tuned for that as well. But yeah, let's get started.
All right, so that week leading into it, I made sure I got some sprinting in to make my test a little bit smoother. And, if you don't sprint, it's hard for you to decide to sprint. So that was a pretty decent time, 0.96. These are my 40s, 4.6, 4.5, 4.5, 4.4. With competition, I even had 0.94, so that was solid. And, my last hooping session before I had to cut it out, at least completely, because I used it as part of my training. So this is the last week. I did pretty decent, man. Some of these guys, they're young, but they pretty solid. And my goal for the day was to hit a dunk in game. And check it out. Look what I did. Yeah, nah, it didn't happen. I actually sold. I didn't make it, but I did hit a couple dunks, just not in the game. My goal for the next time we hoop in a couple weeks is to hit in the game. That's gonna be after the time trial. So yeah. Now going into the test, it was nothing spectacular. My body was a little bit worn out, I guess maybe from hooping. I hadn't taken a deload or anything, but yeah, I wasn't really doing anything amazing. As right here, you can even see I usually go over 30. That was under 30. Yeah.
So
And
covering
my
distance
bar was
as far
right
as you
at
can.
10, barely. And the standing triple right here was not hitting on much. Usually
Right at
I'm
27.
closer
That's
to over 30, over 28, but yeah. And then even the sprint wasn't anything crazy. So that's my times from before, and then look at where I'm at now. My weight, everything else, yeah, it was not better. But one thing I did realize that my strength for the day was solid. Yeah, I don't know. These are my lifts. I'm doing my power clean. I did a modified max. So what I was doing was contrasting. So these are all working sets, but I'm contrasting with standing triple. And then I started doing singles, trying to work to 1 rep max. I did 315. 315 technique looked decent. 335 technique was horrible, but let me go for a new lifetime best. And yeah, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. But yeah, even this standing triple right here was better than the test one. I guess my body got primed some. But at the end of the day, you got to count the one you did when you were testing, just to at least make it consistent, right? Right here was a little over a foot high, more than what I did at the test, but it's still solid. Now, like I said, it was a test, but training day. So I wanted to get into heavy lifting. That was a day that I knew my nervous system was going to be feeling it. I dropped the volume overall, increased the weight. So my goal was to see how heavy could I go, and with decent technique. And these were like reverse lunges, and I was feeling it. Right here, I'm going for, I believe, 6. Got heavy. It got heavy. My legs started feeling it. So you can say a little dramatic right here. Hey, but yeah, that was the last set. From there, I went into the kneeling box jumps. Still working with the concept of working my way up, trying to see how high I can go, because the idea of this was to see where I'm going to train at. So the point of it is I'm going to keep working my way up, heavy, explosive, just see where I'm going to be at. Of course, after I finished, I got in the pool, which is stayed consistent for the whole training month, and sauna, just to finish off and recover, right? One thing I was doing was fasting. That's one of the things that I believe in, and I started throwing in back into my routine, but I didn't went from a 36-hour fast to 24. So I stayed consistent with my 24-hour fast. Those are the meals I ate. The first one was the meal I ate right after training. This is the meal I ate to break my fast. Now, as for my training for the rest of the month, pretty much stayed consistent. Right here, you'll see me doing my resistance sprints. It was anaerobic capacity until I was able to stay within 95%, above 95%. And finally, when I did, then I can just do regular contrast, right? So I took away the anaerobic capacity and went into regular contrast after hitting this. So I'll do a heavy sled and then sprint. So yeah. As in for my weight, my power clean, I stayed around 80% of it, and I just tried to move it as fast as possible. Once I realized that I can move it over 1 meter per second, I started working my way up to heavier and heavier, and I worked up to 315 on the final training day of this past week. And instead of staying in triple, I just did regular contrast. And this is what I progressed to as the month went along, instead of just regular reverse lunges. And that's pretty much it. Now we're on to my next training day.
All right, I'm going with the weight vest for the first set. After we finish the first set, I'm gonna spike up, still with the weight vest, but I'm gonna use these spikes, the ones that fold all the way. And then we're taking the weight vest off and finishing the next 3 with complex.
Yeah. So after spending a couple of weeks out on the turf, I went into the track microdosing with spikes and the track field, right? I started with 10-meter flies. So on the grass and turf, I was on 10 yards. Now I'm going to 10 meters. And then from 10 meters, I progressed to 20 meters. Still doing the complex, working my body so I can get the speed, a little bit of the endurance, and a little diversity. So right here, this is the 20-meter one. Speed was pretty decent. Some of the faster times I've ran, especially by myself, and even with these spikes that aren't super spikes. So I'm excited about that. Then progressing and improving. As in for the lift, this is an example of what I did for the lift. It's a dumbbell lift, explosive, not heavy though. You'll notice that it's a circuit, but it's nothing really crazy heavy, and I'm using the same weight for all the exercises. The idea of this is being able to be explosive, but also conditioning the body to be able to move in all the necessary patterns, right? And getting the hamstring primed and everything else, all right? And that was it for the second day of training. Now we're going on to my last day of training. Remember, this was a day that I used to play basketball in. So I took basketball out and I went into kind of like a dribble bleed out with intensive tempo. And that was the focus for the majority of the month, except for one day. And that day was my birthday. So on my birthday, instead of just doing a regular one, I wanted to run a 40. See how fast I can run a 40. Even though I was a little fatigued because I already did all the training sessions before, I was like, man, I want to run a 40 on my birthday, see how fast I can run. And I did pretty good. Ran in the 4.3s. One of the athletes pulled me to a good time. We both ran phenomenal. He's a fast guy. So, yeah, as you can see, he's slightly ahead of me, but hey, we both were rolling. But yeah, and then my list for that, on that, we progressed to being able to do this. Notice how I'm explosive with the weight, but I have the band, so that way I can explode our way through and not have to worry about it coming off. And then I'm also balancing and assisting myself on the rack.
Now remember, this training is specific for me. If you want training specific for you, make sure you reach out to me. We'll be able to work some out, whether it be online training, coaching, programming, or consultation. We can get something going so that way you can get the best out of your training and the best results for you to be able to achieve your championship fit goals, right? All right. Until next time, peace.